Years ago now, I started building my very own tiny house on wheels. That project is finally finished, and today I'd like to show you around. So, welcome to my tiny house on wheels. We've only recently completed the build of this tiny house, and it's just been moved onto this new property where I'm paying a little bit of rent every month to park it here in the driveway. So all of the landscaping and everything that I've done around it is absolutely brand new. Designing the tiny house to be really mobile, I think, has been a really good idea, and I'm glad that I made it a little bit smaller so that it's easier to transport on the roads. We don't own land yet. We are in the process of saving up for our own plot of land, so being able to save on rent by owning our own home and being able to channel that money instead into saving up for land, I think is a really good idea. The home is roughly 15 square meters and it's all completely off the grid. On the roof, I have a 1.2 kilowatt solar system, which is charging a 240 amp hour battery bank at 24 volt. As you can see, we're also collecting rainwater here. All of the rainwater is collected by the spouting that comes down into this tank here, which is a stainless steel tank, which is collecting about 200 liters of water. Now 200 litres is not a lot of water, so we will have to be very conscious of water usage within this home, but I'm hoping that it's going to be enough to get by. In the worst case scenario, I do also have the ability to both plug into mains power to help charge the batteries, as well as plug in a water hose so I can also use mains water in the house if I need to. Aside from the off-grid features, one of my absolute favorite features about the exterior of the home is my outdoor shower. We live quite close to the beach here, so there is nothing like being able to go for a surf or go for a swim, come home and get all of the sand off before you jump in your house. In the future, we're going to be doing another video where I can talk in more detail about the off-grid systems and the way that the house was constructed, but this time round, just because the house is brand new, I'm really excited to show you. So let's get inside and check it out. Follow me. So here we are. I am so excited that this house is now complete. I've waited for this for such a long time, and it really is a dream come true to have it all completed now. As you can see, we're only just starting to set things up and move things into the house, so it is all completely new. First of all, coming into the house, we're right in the kitchen. Now, the kitchen was designed to be very simple and very utilitarian. One of the first things that I really love about the kitchen is the high bench top. We've actually built the bench top to 1 meter. As you know, I am not the shortest person ever to have lived in a tiny house, and so being able to raise up the countertops has been a really nice way of making the house fit me a little bit better. I did make a deal with Russa that if she ever wanted me to do the dishes, then I had to have a higher bench top. Otherwise it was all on her, so that was how I managed to get that compromise into the house. One of my pet peeves in any kitchen is when it has a really small sink. I think it's really important to be able to have a sink where you can put things away, get them out of sight, or where you can comfortably wash your dishes. So with this house, I decided to have a really big sink. There are actually 3 sinks in here, and 2 of them are covered most of the time with these chopping boards, which have actually been routed out of the bench top. What that does is it gives us lots of prep area, but also the ability to lift these out and wash up when we need to. The bench top here is 600 deep, which is pretty conventional for a kitchen here in New Zealand. That gives us really nice deep drawer storage, so we've got lots of storage space in this kitchen. One of the things that we did compromise on in size a little bit is the fridge. So we only have an 80-litre fridge in here, which does mean that we potentially need to do a little bit more frequent shopping, but that's really no problem. We have shops that are 2 minutes down the road, and I quite like having fresh produce. Plus, one day I want to be growing it all in my garden anyway, so I figured, don't worry about the big fridge, just go for something that's enough. So one of the things that you'll probably notice about this kitchen is there is no built-in cooktop. The reason for that being, because it's an off-the-grid home, sometimes I'm going to be generating a lot of power and I'll be able to use an induction cooktop, and other times I might have to resort to a gas hob or something else. So I wanted to build flexibility into the home. Plus, I really like barbecuing anyway, so whenever I can, I think it's actually nice to get cooking outside of a tiny house because cooking odors in small spaces really can build up. So unless you go absolutely crazy on fans in your tiny house, I love whenever possible cooking outside. That being said, we do have really great ventilation in this home. Within this home, one of my real priorities in the design was insulation. I wanted to make sure that this house was always going to be nice and warm in the winter and nice and cool in the summer. So all of the windows are made from thermally broken aluminium, which means they have a little strip of plastic that breaks up the aluminium, meaning they don't thermally conduct from the outside. They're all double glazed and give a really nice warmth to the home. And that's been paired with polyester insulation in the walls, which gives us a really nice R value in the home and keeps everything toasty. Adding to keeping everything toasty in the home is our little wood stove. This is the Sparky wood stove, which is actually a 10 kilowatt wood stove, which for the size of this space is potentially a little bit ridiculous. It will cook us out of this in the winter, but what I really like about this model is that unlike a lot of other small wood stoves, it does have fire bricks in it. It's got a little bit of thermal mass, so it means that when you light the fire and let the fire go out, it will continue to radiate heat throughout the night, which I think is a really nice feature. Now moving over here, we have our stairwell. So the stairs, the kitchen, and all of the beautiful built-in furniture in this house was done by friends of ours, Jake and Casey from Variant Spaces. They have a little business which is specializing in designing custom cabinetry for small homes, and they are doing a phenomenal job, and I just am so thrilled with what they've done for us in this house. Especially this very intricate staircase. So as you can see, this is our loft access. It's built to be able to comfortably access the loft, but also is shaped in a really great way which doesn't enclose off the space in any way. There is a tremendous amount of storage. So all of these drawers open up. We've even got hanging clothes storage in here. And if you take a look in this cupboard, we've even got all of our off-the-grid system. So we have our fuse box, our inverter, our solar controller, and our 12-volt transformer. So everything has nice, easy access. Before I move further into the home, I have to talk about some of the artistic elements that our builder Brenton has put into this home. One of my favorite aspects of this home is the power inlays. Brenton, like me, is a little bit of a geek when it comes to sacred geometry. I affectionately call this house the seat of life because I love the seat of life in terms of geometric proportions and design, but also for me it's a little bit symbolic because this tiny house and this project really was the seat of my life. This gave birth to a whole new life for me, which I think is really beautiful. And to celebrate that, Brenton has gifted me this panel. So this is a beautiful piece of American ash where he has created the seat of life pattern in power inlay. We call it power here in New Zealand. I believe in North America this is known as abalone, but it's just such a gorgeous aspect and it has this wonderful iridescent shimmer that just catches the eye. Over here we have our couch area. The couch is a really comfortable space. It's not too big but not too small. It's just enough to be able to comfortably read a book or sit down and maybe watch a movie. Built into this again is lots of storage. So as you can see, both Russa and I do have drawers in here where we can pack away clothes and other things. The top of this also lifts up to provide more storage. Over the other side is the office. The office again is a very important area for us. We do work from home. We spend a lot of time when we are in the country sitting here editing videos. So it's really important for us to be able to have a nice working area. I do love my books as well, so being able to have a bookcase was another really essential element in this home. In pride of place here on the bookshelf right now, you may notice the Living Big in a Tiny House book. This is something that I haven't talked about a lot on the channel yet because it hasn't come out yet internationally. Right now, this book is only available in New Zealand, but be sure to look out because soon it is coming to the rest of the world. Again, we have lots of storage in the office. We really have put little storage nooks into each and every place that we could in this tiny house, including even these little squares here which cover the wheel well, which lift off and give us little areas for more storage. I think I'll probably put computer cables or things like that in those. Included in the storage is this here. This, again, with beautiful Seat of Life power inlay, is our chair when we're sitting at the desk. It also allows us to easily access our storage loft above the kitchen, which right now is completely empty. And when we're sitting here at the bench, it also doubles as a table. So it can lift up and we could either bring the laptop over here, or when we're sitting back, move it over here, and it can rest a glass of wine. And then we have the bathroom. The bathroom, I think, is pretty luxurious as far as tiny house bathrooms go. We've got our really nice low flow shower heads, including a rainfall shower head. This has all been designed custom to fit into the space. I wanted to have a decent sized shower, but the square boxes just really weren't working and fitting in with the unusual shape of this room. So by custom building the shower, we were able to nicely fit everything in and get it all looking harmonious. The bathroom's pretty simple. We have the shower, we have a vanity. The vanity mirror, I think, is a really nice element in the home. I think it's important to have a mirror with really nice lighting so that I can shave or so that Rasa can do her makeup. So this has again been custom done with the Seed of Life pattern in it. And if I turn it on, you can see it has a really nice light coming from it. The basin in here is really lovely. Again, this is made from American ash, and this was a custom made basin by our friends Jake and Casey, which is a real treasure in the tiny house. I don't yet have a composting toilet installed in this tiny house, but that will be coming in the future. One of the kind of quirky things that we did in this tiny house is we put toilet brush holders on the wall. I've actually used them as plant holders in this, since with a composting toilet you don't need a toilet brush. So this has been a really cool kind of funky element, and I would love to get more plants in here in the future. Unfortunately right now it's really difficult for us to keep houseplants because we're not really home or even in New Zealand long enough to keep them alive. But we do have a few which can be babysat by my friends or parents, so that's okay. But one day I will have more. Now the bathroom door, again, this is very beautiful. Completely made from American ash. And on the inside, it has a full-length mirror, which I think is a really nice feature. That about wraps it up for the bathroom. So let's take a look at the sleeping loft. But before we do that, this here is a real treasure and something that I had to give pride of place in the tiny house. This is our gold play button, which we received for passing 1 million subscribers on YouTube. 1 million is just such a crazy number. It is incredible that we're now fast approaching 2 million subscribers, and I really can't say how much this has completely changed my life. It's changed Russ's life. When I started building this tiny house, I was an unemployed actor. I had recently been killed off of a television show, and I was struggling to make life work in a city that was really expensive. I wanted to be able to keep doing a job that I loved, but that I wasn't always getting paid for. And I was definitely struggling, and that was why I built this tiny house on wheels. I saw this as a way that I could simplify my life, minimize my expenses, and have a small, simple shelter that was enough. So that in here I didn't have to worry about mortgage, I didn't have to worry about rent, and where I would be able to continue doing a job that I loved. I looked around and I saw so many others who were in my situation, and that was why I actually started the YouTube channel originally. I wanted to share this thing that I had become so excited about, and wanted to share the concepts of alternative living with people so that they realized there were other options out there. And I never dreamed back then that building this home would have been the start of all of this, and I just can't express how grateful I am for that. Anyway, let's go check out the sleeping loft. Come on up. The steps here are designed to be really comfortable to come up and down. As you can see, the last step is double height, which makes it very easy to come into the sleeping loft kneeling. And because we've got the gable roof here, I've also designed it to have this 45-degree angle coming off the loft, which allows us to come into where your head height is the highest. So being able to make the access this way makes it a lot more comfortable. So this is the sleeping loft. Again, there's not a tremendous amount of space up here. It really is just for sleeping. But this is also one of my absolute favorite places inside the home. And that is because of the two roof windows here. There is nothing like being able to lie in bed and look at the stars at night. So this was one thing that I always have wanted to do. So both Russa and I have our very own skylight, so we get a great view of the sky at night. You'll notice in the home that we have no blinds, no curtains yet. those are definitely still to come, because while it's maybe not such a big deal if we were parked up in a beautiful remote property, right now when we are in the middle of the suburbs, we're feeling pretty exposed, so we're definitely going to get curtains in here. So let's talk cost of this tiny house. This home was not cheap. We're in New Zealand, which means we pay a lot more than other countries for both materials and labor. And all throughout the home, I've worked with high quality materials and really talented craftsmen. So that has come at a little bit of a premium. It's completely off the grid, and so I've had to pay a little bit more for my electrical appliances, as well as even just things like the wiring in the house and all of that sort of thing. So all up right now, my home has cost me around the $100,000 mark. Now that's New Zealand dollars. That being said, I'm in a city where the average house price right now is $1 million. So my home is roughly 1/10 the value of an average home in this city. So for me, this makes complete financial sense. And although it's been somewhat of a painful process chipping away at the build bit by bit over the last few years, by doing it that way, it has meant that I haven't had to pay one big chunk all up front. So I have been able to pay it off as I go, which is fantastic because it now means that I do own this home without any debt. So I hope that you have enjoyed this first tour of the home. We're definitely going to be making more videos in here later, showing you more of the features and giving more in-depth information. Right now, this evening, we are about to jump on a plane. We are heading back to North America to continue filming for the show. So this year, there is going to be lots more content coming from around the world. And in the summer, when we're back here in New Zealand, we'll be making more videos here. So until then, I'll see you next week.